Hey, Steady Steve, please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon, click on subscribe. It's 100% free. Blood in, blood out. And don't forget to click on the notifications just so you don't miss out on any amazing content. Anyway, here we go. So I've got a master's in economics and a 2-1 in psychology, and I've got qualification in politics as well. Been following this US election. I think a lot of people in Europe, I'm in the UK basically. A lot of people in Europe are following this one very closely. I think most people, but not all. Not all. Most people are just holding their breath that somehow, no, the orange man does not make it. In fact, just no. Just, playtime is over. Playtime is over. Anyway, we're going to listen. And also, please, if people are open and they want to listen to Michelle speak, then that's all good. But obviously, if this is not for you, in advance, then don't watch it. You know what I mean? That's all good. We can still be friends. I'm going to do other videos. I've got some relationship type videos coming out, and what else? Maybe some even cooking videos and some exercise videos and some dating videos and some, some general trash TV videos, the kind of dating shows. Love is Blind, that type of thing. All those coming out. So if this isn't for you, catch the next one. Anyway, here we go. To you, Michelle.
And we need that. We need all of you. Because right now, as you know, this race is close. It's too close for my liking. And I came out here to Michigan because I am someone who takes her own advice to heart. I know that if we want to help this country finally turn the page on the politics of hatred and division, we can't just sit around and complain. No, we've got to do something. If we want to usher in the next generation of American leadership, we have got to do something. If we want to elect someone with a character that is worthy of the Oval Office, someone with the strength of heart to guide our country to a better day, we have got to what?
I'm not going to keep stopping, but to guide us to a better day sounds a little bit positive. Where's the positivity? Is there any positivity on the Republican side right now with the orange guy? I mean, if you're not kind of shouting down the Puerto Ricans, you're shouting down the Mexicans, you're shouting down people in, was it trash countries in Africa and poisoning the blood? I mean, we're going back to, where that saying comes from our friend, our not so friend on the far right in the world wars. Do we want to go back to that? Do you want to go to this politics of division? I do think sometimes, before we listen to Michelle, and she's amazing and inspirational, do people have the stomach, if Trump got in, for 4 more years of just kind of adversarial life? Or do people just got better things to do? We got better things to do. Maybe the people in America got better things to do, in such as, I don't know, just give their best and kind of love their loved ones and not be falling out over some orange twat. You know what I mean? And just kind of just embrace each other and just, as I say, we're more happy. We can be more productive together than trying to find these divisions. Isn't that what it was? Isn't that what built America? Isn't that what built America? That's what I heard. I don't know. Maybe. I think it was. Anyway, let's go.
And that someone, of course, is my dear friend Kamala Harris. And Michigan, I am so hopeful about the energy and poise and joy that Kamala has injected into this race. And if you know Kamala like I do, that's no surprise. I mean, think about it. No one could have predicted the way everything would have unfolded this summer. And yet, in a critical moment when our country needed her, Kamala couldn't have been more prepared to meet that moment. And she's met it every single day since. Yes. Oh, she's filling arenas in a way we haven't seen for years. She's building a remarkable campaign in record time, dominating her opponent so thoroughly in the debate, he was too scared to face her again.
Again, listen, you had the concept of a plan. I mean, if you're that badly prepared, and you can't like kind of spin every question to the left on some bullshit. You know what I mean? I think he was more focused on trying to give her a backhand compliment. Oh, she's very attractive. We don't give two shits about that, my friend. Or we shouldn't give two shits about anything about that. What's that got to do with, how does that, what are you going to do on day one in the office? You're going to make flaming write her a love letter or something? And here we go again. We get distracted with this orange twat. We get this, we get distracted into nonsense, silly things with these that couldn't be more serious. This is a man with his, in charge of the most powerful nation on the earth, with his finger on the button and all the secrets in his toilet. Oh.
Kamala, she's putting herself out there fearlessly, facing down even her harshest critics. She's seeking out Republicans to find common ground. And unlike her opponent, she's not ducking interviews or cowering in safe spaces only with fawning audiences. No, she's showing us what a sane, stable leader looks like. She's not losing her train of thought or stumbling over her words.
Stumbling over her words. Wasn't that moment in court? Just think about this on the Tube to London train network on the way here, when Trump was showing pictures of in the past, and he mistaken somebody else for his wife, and this is not what's his current wife now? I can't remember her name. It's not his current wife; it's the past wife. But anyway, he picked out somebody who wasn't even his own wife. My gosh, man! How many people in the world would mistake somebody else for their own wife? I actually did some research as well on the percentage of Americans. He's a 6-time bankrupt as well. I do some research on the percentage of Americans that file for bankruptcy. It was 10%. So that'll be one-time bankruptcy, 10%. So for you or any particular person to be bankrupt 6 times, there's only 10% of the whole population of America, 10% in a year, right, that filed bankruptcy, which is really high when you think about it, 10%. And that's going to include personal and business, right? Personal and business, right? It's all bankruptcies, right? So you take that fraction of 10% about business bankruptcies, then you think about, say, how many people in America have been bankrupt twice? And I guarantee you probably don't know anybody. 3 times bankrupt, how many people do you know? 4 times bankrupt, how many people do you know? 5 times bankrupt, how many people do you know? 6 times, well, he's at the top of the ranking somewhere. It's like, oh my gosh. And again, before I go, and I don't want to make this too long, very quickly, the economy that Trump inherited was taken on from 80 years of Obama, the momentum of 80 years of Obama going to Trump's years. And then at the end of Trump's presidency, that goes into Biden, because Trump was in for 4 years and it followed into Biden. Right. So the credit that Trump claims, and it's shameless for the positive times anyway, not the massive amount of debt that he kind of given to future generations. Obama did too, but in the credit crunch, if I remember correctly. So yeah, you can't take credit for another man's work. That's another thing. And let's roll.
And she's doing it all with vigor and with grace. That's because Kamala Harris is a grown-up. And Lord knows, we need a grown-up in the White House. Someone with the maturity and fresh ideas to keep moving our country forward. Kamala is the only candidate in this race who has outlined a clear set of policies, including focusing on lowering costs and reducing drug prices for all Americans.
Yeah, the concept of a plan, and Trump hates the fact. I don't know what it's called now. It's not about. I was going to say Obamacare, but it's got a formal name, doesn't it? And he just hates the fact. He hates the fact that some black man has done something. It doesn't matter about impact on anybody. It doesn't matter what the impact is on American people, whether it's going to make them poorer or iller, or you know what I mean. Some people are going to not be here that could have been. It doesn't matter. He wants to take away any achievements. I bet Obama's a DEI hire as well, isn't he? And maybe Michelle is a DEI. Everybody's a DEI hire, apart from this man, who his only thing he's known for is twice indicted, felony charges, injecting people with bleach. Oh, and also his presidency. But, you know, well done.
Giving tax credits to first-time home buyers, folks starting small businesses and working families raising our kids. Let me tell you, it is a remarkable plan. And these remarkable last few months mirror the way Kamala has handled herself her entire life, fighting for working people and the vulnerable, first as a prosecutor, then as an attorney general, then as a U.S. senator, and now as our vice president of the United States. Taking on the big banks, the transnational gangs and predatory for-profit colleges, and always doing it, holding her head high with warmth and dignity and class. So Michigan, do not buy into the lie that we do not know who Kamala is or what she stands for. This is someone who understands you, all of you, someone from a middle-class family raised mostly by her mom, like so many of us, leaning on her neighbors like we all do. That's what you want in a president, someone who gets you and will have your back. Take it from me. And I know good people. Kamala Harris is an extraordinary human being. She is an extraordinary candidate, and she will be an extraordinary president of the United States of America. Mark my words, because I don't lie. So Michigan, with all that being said, I got to ask myself, well, why on earth is this race even close? I lay awake at night wondering what in the world is going on. And it's clear to me that the question isn't whether Kamala is ready for this moment, because by every measure, she has demonstrated that she's ready. The real question is, as a country, are we ready for this moment? Are we willing to do what it takes to get her across the finish line, or are we going to let ourselves get distracted and fall for the scam? Are we going to lose sight of the dire consequences if we come up short? And right now, folks, I have to be honest, I'm not completely sure of the answers to those questions. Y'all give me great comfort in this arena. But this is a big country, and that's why all of my hope about Kamala is also accompanied by some genuine fear. Fear for our country, fear for our children, fear for what is coming our way if we forget the stakes in this election. And y'all, that's why I'm here today. And y'all know I hate politics. But I hate to see folks taken advantage of even more. So I wanted to do everything in my power to remind the country that I love, that there's too much we stand to lose if we get this one wrong. I'm deeply concerned, and I'm talking to everybody out there, that too many of us are still confused and buying into the lies and distortions from people who do not have our best interest at heart.
You would think, and again, this goes back to a recent video I've done, well, one just literally before now, about the weak approach for the other Democrats to a country critical situation. Right, so Trump put people in post with no experience and blatantly partisan, and won't kind of take themselves out of the equation to try about the person who put them into power. So Trump gave Eileen Cannon a job, and she won't withdraw herself, and she will try the person, her boss, who put her in power. A very partisan move. Okay, and that's just the beginning of it, and there's just more and more, and there's many more as well. How do they think justice is going to pan out in that country with these partisan picks? He's a twice indicted person on felony charges. Don't you think that draws into question his judgment, so they'd have justification to kind of at least look at the people that he's put into power, and we know his political motivations as well. My gosh, the recent Supreme Court decision said the president's got carte blanche to do anything he wants, including taking out a political rival. So don't you think he could remove anybody from power if he really wanted to? Yeah, it sets a bad precedent unless you got justification. We've got justification. But if we go about it in a weak way, it's going to be so much more damaging down the route, because you've got people, especially these judges, not all of them, but to say that at least Eileen Cannon's one of the few young people who are poor and biased for the next 30, 40, 50 years. How's that going to pan out? Do you care about your justice system, or does that need to be protected? And that's a weakness in the Democrats, but I think I just can't, that one will just kind of play out. And I think they're just kind of hoping for the best, to kind of head in the sand kind of technique. And I don't think, it worries me. Anyway, I'm going to rewind a little bit and then let's go.
Concerned, and I'm talking to everybody out there, that too many of us are still confused and buying into the lies and distortions from people who do not have our best interest at heart. So I want to address some of these concerns head on. Because when you lay out the options, this choice isn't even close. But whether it's online or in the media or in our social circles, there are folks who say they're not sure about Kamala. They accuse her of not providing enough policy detail. Some wonder, do we really know her? Is she too aggressive? Is she not aggressive enough? There are folks sowing seeds of doubt about whether she's who she appears to be. Now, don't get me wrong. Voters have every right to ask hard questions of any candidate seeking office. But can someone tell me why we are once again holding Kamala to a higher standard than her opponent?
100%. That's a mic drop. Boom, a mic drop. And I guess I got to thank Charlemagne the God. He's got a really stupid name from the Breakfast Club. Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club. Let's just give him his proper name, or proper title. Anyway, to me, that's what it's going to be known to me. Anyway, from this day forward, Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club, not Charlemagne the God. Anyway, so yeah, he brought an important thing to the table, so I can't actually diss him anymore. Not for a while, anyway. Not for a while. But as I say, exactly what she said, that Kamala's held to a different standard than Trump. And they kind of look past all these points, which should already exclude the orange twat, exclude the orange man from any kind of consideration or being taken seriously. We just kind of brush past it and go on to the next point, instead of like just spotlighting the problems for what it is and just drawing it out and not letting people move past it. And then, you know what I mean? And you got to build up this weight of facts. Build up the weight of facts so they're not overlooked. That's your job, media. You know what I mean? Just letting the bad guy win. You know what I mean? You don't want Darth Vader. You don't want Darth Vader to win, do you? And beat Luke? Gosh, do we?
We expect her to be intelligent and articulate, to have a clear set of policies, to never show too much anger, to prove time and time again that she belongs. But for Trump, we expect nothing at all. No understanding of policy, no ability to put together a coherent argument, no honesty, no decency, no morals. Instead, too many people are willing to write off his childish, mean-spirited antics by saying, well, Trump's just being Trump. Rather than question his horrible behavior, some folks think he's funny. And if you remember, that's exactly how he got elected the first time. Folks gave him a pass and rolled the dice, betting that he couldn't possibly be that bad. And then there were those folks who didn't think it really mattered who the president was, if you can believe that. And still others who thought it'd be a good idea just to blow up our entire democracy. Let us not forget how badly that worked out for all of us. Let us not forget the incompetence and the corruption, the chaos that was the cornerstone of his entire 4 years in office. Let's start with the pandemic. Remember how woefully unprepared he was? How he was sowing seeds of fear and confusion, endangering lives with his lies and ignorance, denigrating the doctors and scientists trying to help us. You want to talk about plans? Well, my husband left him a very detailed pandemic plan. And you know what he did? He ignored it. He had no clue how to get us out of that crisis. No ability to bring back the millions of jobs we lost so suddenly. No idea how to get our students back into school safely. No attempt to help stem the epidemic of loneliness and isolation that too many of our young people are still dealing with. And his failures had real cost. America lost 7 million more jobs during the COVID downturn than the European Union. Among wealthy nations, the United States had one of the highest COVID death rates. Again, all of this occurred with Trump in charge. And sadly, this was just the tragic exclamation point on his disastrous presidency. Installing judges and justices who have now stripped away our reproductive freedoms, cracking down on protesters marching to protect their sons from being shot because of the color of their skin, rolling back protections for LGBTQ Americans.
Just a second. You know that he did order, you know that moment when he went outside with the Bible, I can't remember if he had the Bible upside down just for a photo shoot, and he was calling for the army to go up against peaceful protesters, the army, putting the army against your own people, putting the army in America against your own people. What happens next? What all the random crazy orders would extreme right, white supremacists do against a black group of people, primarily black group of people, or people that are just not on his side politically, just happen to be black as well. Scary.
Conspiracy theories, unleashing hatred in our communities. And then, when the American people fired him from a job that was too big for him to begin with, he tried to steal it, egging on a violent mob that breached our nation's capital. And when told that his own vice president was in danger, you know what he said? So what? So what, y'all? He said, so what? And after all of that, and there is more, there are still folks wringing their hands, crossing their arms, tuning out, saying they plan to sit this election out to prove a point.
I don't want to go past that again, that Mike Pence, and I apologise if I've already said it in this video. I said it in a recent video talking about the same thing. And a white supremacist doesn't give two shits about people who are not white. That's definite. But a white supremacist, fascist, authoritarian narcissist only cares about their point of view. How many yes men are surrounded by, as Trump surrounded himself by? There's a video just put out now where his vice president was slating Trump and saying he himself was a never Trump. Well, you know, until he did a 180 and now he's his running mate. You know what I mean? But say if this running mate just had a twinge of morality and went in a different direction, he'd be gone, he'd be buried. And all I'm trying to say is, even if you are, say, a white male like Pence, say if you are the selected running mate for the vice president, which kind of puts you just below Trump himself, and you get on Trump's bad side, Trump will allow and encourage, potentially, you know what I mean, he definitely didn't discourage the mob that are calling for you to be hung, which puts you in danger and potentially your whole family and anybody associated with you, and do nothing to dissuade them. What I'm saying is, if you aren't in the spotlight and you're further down that rung, you better not step out of line. Your idea, your concept of liberty and having a free-minded will to do whatever you want, you may agree with this orange man on key things. You need to agree with him on everything, not only now, but forever. But forever. I say all those closest to you will be the ones to, to call you out. You will not dare. You will be in a situation you will not dare to speak out against the authority. What do you think authoritarianism is? Authoritarianism, what do you think it is? And fascism, why do you think people push back against it? Do you think, okay, just to round this thing off, do you think the people in Russia, do you think they don't want to rise up? Do you think they want to be oppressed? Or do you think they live in a situation where you speak out and that may well be your last day on earth? Either they take you out straight away or they take away your means of sustaining yourself. Or, you speak out and next thing you know, you're in prison for X amount of years on nothing at all. And who's going to save you? These are this kind of dystopia, but it's definitely on the table and it's definitely on the card. So be careful what you vote for. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let me tell you who isn't tuning out. Many of the folks who served closest to Trump and saw the danger firsthand. His former vice president, almost half of his former cabinet members, the growing list of four-star generals and Republican governors and senators and former House members, all of whom are not publicly supporting his candidacy the second time around. Y'all hear what I said? They are saying no, thank you. Many are speaking out. His chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, for example, said, and these are his words, that Trump is fascist to the core. His Joint Chief of Staff. These folks know that nothing this man says or does is funny in any way. So I hope you'll forgive me if I'm a little frustrated that some of us are choosing to ignore Donald Trump's gross incompetence while asking Kamala to dazzle us at every turn. I hope that you'll forgive me if I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon.
Yeah, I was listening to another channel, basically, just very quickly, talking about whether Trump actually is in mental decline. I did mention a little bit earlier about him not being able to spot that his wife wasn't his wife. He pointed out somebody in an old picture, said, "Oh, that's my wife." It wasn't his wife, it was somebody else, some randomer. That is evidence of mental decline, and maybe he has good days and bad days, and he does have like sleepy time. He can't maintain his concentration, but I think that last point is probably the biggest clue. I don't think he has a big attention span, so if he's going to be in court or doing anything over an extended period of time, that's not his skill. I think he's a kind of I don't know, I guess a gut reaction kind of man, but he's definitely, his way goes, and I imagine with age, and all this kind of hyping that he's getting, all this kind of, all these yes men around him, that's the way he's got to go. You know what I mean? But best of luck to us all.
A known slumlord, a predator found liable for sexual abuse, all of this while we pick apart Kamala's answers from interviews that he doesn't even have the courage to do, y'all. So, I am praying that those of us contemplating voting for Trump or not voting at all will snap out of whatever fog we are in. I am praying that we consider the decades of sacrifice and struggle by all of our ancestors, the folks who marched and sacrificed and shed their blood for us. We have to ask ourselves, is a vote for Trump or no vote at all the way we honor their lives? And if that's the case, well, that surely doesn't sound like freedom to me. Because let me tell you, in any other profession or arena, Trump's criminal track record and amoral character would be embarrassing, shameful, and disqualifying. So, I hope that you will forgive me if I am worried that we will blow this opportunity to finally turn the page on the ugliness once and for all. Because believe me, if Donald Trump is president again, at some point or another, that ugliness will touch all of our lives. And it will not matter what you look like, how you worship, who you love, or how you vote. If you don't make 6 or 8 or 12 figures, if you're not famous, if you criticize or disagree with him in any way, if he doesn't view you as his equal or relevant to his ambitions, I promise you, he will not think about you when he gets into the Oval Office. And that will have real consequences for all of us. If your town gets hit by a natural disaster, who do you want looking out for you? Is it Donald Trump, who's spreading so many lies and conspiracy theories about climate change and FEMA that the workers in North Carolina trying to help folks clean up after the last hurricane were fearing for their safety? Or is it Kamala Harris, who has been meeting with local officials, comforting the families in that state and doing everything she can to get folks the help they need? If you're saving up to buy a house or pay off student loans, if you're caring for your kids or your parents or both, if you are a farmer, a factory worker, a paralegal, anyone whose job may be changed or replaced by technology, who will actually be thinking about you? Is it Donald Trump, who's palling around with billionaires that want a puppet in the White House who will let him run unchecked? Or is it Kamala Harris, who has been fighting for working people her entire life? If you're one of our service members, our veterans, or military families, who is going to value your service and sacrifice? Is it Donald Trump, who has called those who gave their lives for our country suckers and losers? Or is it TU will honor your commitment to the ideals we all share with every fiber in her being. And if you are a mother who has lost sleep worrying if your son could be the victim of a nightmare traffic stop gone bad, if you've ever been out there marching and weeping for justice, who do you think is going to have your back? Is it Donald Trump, who once took out a full-page ad to demonize innocent young black teenagers in New York City, who has dreamed openly about his own version of a purge, where in his words, he has said for one day, one real rough, nasty day, he says, he will allow cops to use violence indiscriminately, who I am sure has never spent a single second thinking about the lives on the other end of those batons? Or is it Kamala Harris, who understands the anguish in these interactions and has the experience that shows us that, yes, it is possible to keep our community safe and keep innocent people out of harm's way? And finally, y'all, who could possibly think that this man would care more about our men and boys more than Kamala Harris? And while we're at it, I want to think about who do you think possibly would care more about our reproductive health? And I just want to take a moment with this particular question, because there is so much that gets lost in the conversation about women's reproductive rights. And I want the men in the arena to bear with me on this, because there's more at stake than just protecting a woman's choice to give birth. And sadly, we as women and girls have not been socialized to talk openly about our reproductive health. We've been taught instead to feel shame and to hide how our bodies work. Some young girls enter puberty not knowing what to expect. Too many of us suffer with severe cramps and nausea for days on end every single month. And then on the other end of the reproductive timeline, too many women my age have no idea what's going on with our bodies as we battle through menopause and debilitating hot flashes and depression. See, fellas, most of us women, we suck up our pain and we deal with it alone. We don't share our experiences with anyone, not with our partners, or our friends, or even our doctors. Look, a woman's body is complicated business, y'all. Yes, it brings life, and that's a beautiful thing. But even when we are not bearing children, there is so much that can go wrong at any moment. Every woman here knows what I'm talking about. An unexpected lump, an abnormal pap smear or mammogram, an infection, a blockage, all of which could be early signs of a variety of life-threatening cancers. And in those terrifying moments when something goes wrong, y'all, which will happen at some point to the vast majority of women in this country, let me tell you, it feels like the floor falls out from under us. In those moments, all we have to rely on is our medical system. In those dark moments, all we have to rely on is our faith in a higher power and the experience of doctors to get us the care we need in a timely manner. And look, I don't expect any man to fully grasp how vulnerable this makes us feel, to understand the complexities of our reproductive health experiences. In all honesty, most of us as women don't fully understand the breadth and depth of our own reproductive lives, you know? And that's because our experiences are often neglected by science. There's a huge disparity in research funding for women's health. And if you happen to look like me and report pain, you're more likely to be ignored, even by your own doctors, studies show. So let me take a minute to help folks, especially the men in our lives, to get a better sense of what could happen if we keep dismantling parts of our reproductive care system piece by piece, as Trump intends to do. I want folks to understand the chilling effect, not just on critical abortion care, but on the entirety of women's health. All of it. There are good reasons why so many women and physicians are horrified by what's happened since Donald Trump's justices overturned Roe v. Wade. We're seeing women scrambling across state lines to get the care they need. Just this week, a major medical journal reported that after Roe was overturned, infant mortality in this country rose, in large part because women are being forced to carry fetuses that won't survive to term. One woman spent 22 days in jail on murder charges after she miscarried in her own bathroom. We are seeing doctors unsure if they can treat ectopic pregnancies. Doctors being told they can't treat a woman until she becomes so close to death that only a life of the mother exception will allow them to act. So just imagine the profound effects for all of us if Donald Trump wins this election. In states that are already putting abortion bans into effect, his FDA could further outlaw patchwork systems of telehealth appointments and mail-order pills, thereby eliminating the last remaining protections for women in those states. He could take actions that effectively ban abortion nationwide, which would put all of us in danger, no matter what state we live in. We will see more doctors hesitating or shying away from providing life-saving treatments because they are worried about being arrested. More medical students reconsidering even pursuing women's health at all. More OB/GYN clinics without enough doctors to meet demand, closing their doors, leaving untold numbers of women in communities throughout this country without a place to go for basic gynecological care, which in turn will leave millions of us at risk of undiagnosed medical issues like cervical and uterine cancers. This is real. So do you think Donald Trump is thinking about the consequences for the millions of women who will be living in medical deserts? Does anyone think he has the emotional maturity and foresight to come up with a plan to protect us? Y'all, we are teetering on the edge. Even before these state bans, America was already lagging behind every other wealthy nation on measures like maternal mortality and paid leave. So we could be right back to the days before Roe, which many young people here don't even remember. The days when abortion wasn't as safe as it is today. The days when the number of mothers of color dying in childbirth was 30 to 40% higher than when it was under Roe. So to the men who love us, let me just try to paint a picture of what it will feel like if America, the wealthiest nation on earth, keeps revoking basic care from its women, and how it will affect every single woman in your life. Your girlfriend could be the one in legal jeopardy if she needs a pill from out of state or overseas, or if she has to travel across state lines because the local clinic closed up. Your wife or mother could be the ones at higher risk of dying from undiagnosed cervical cancer because they have no access to regular gynecological care. Your daughter could be the one too terrified to call the doctor if she's bleeding during an unexpected pregnancy. Your niece could be the one miscarrying in her bathtub after the hospital turned her away. And this will not just affect women, it will affect you and your sons. The devastating consequences of teen pregnancy won't just be borne by young girls, but also by the young men who are the fathers. They too will have their dreams of going to college. Their entire future is totally upended by an unwanted pregnancy. If you and your partner are expecting a child, you will be right by her side at the checkups, terrified if her blood pressure is too high, or if there's an issue with the placenta, or if the ultrasound shows that the embryo was implanted in the wrong place, and the doctors aren't sure that they can intervene to keep the woman you love safe. If your wife is shivering and bleeding on the operating room table during a routine delivery gone bad, her pressure dropping as she loses more and more blood, or some unforeseen infection spreads and her doctors aren't sure if they can act, you will be the one praying that it's not too late. You will be the one pleading for somebody, anybody, to do something. And then there is the tragic but very real possibility that in the worst case scenario, you just might be the one holding flowers at the funeral. You might be the one left to raise your children alone. See, these are just some of the ways women die during childbirth. And I don't want to be a downer, y'all. But in many cases, there is no warning, and things go bad very quickly. And when it happens, every second of hesitation or delay can lead to devastating outcomes. So I am asking y'all from the core of my being to take our lives seriously. Please, do not put our lives in the hands of politicians, mostly men, who have no clue or do not care about what we as women are going through, who don't fully grasp the broad-reaching health implications that their misguided policies will have on our health outcomes. The only people who have standing to make these decisions are women with the advice of their doctors. We are the ones with the knowledge and experience to know what we need. So please, please do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us. Because a vote for him is a vote against us, against our health, against our worth. And let me tell you all, to think that the men that we love could be either unaware or indifferent to our plight is simply heartbreaking. It is a sad statement about our value as women in this world. It is both a setback in our quest for equity and a huge blow to our country's standing as a world leader on issues of women's health and gender equality. So fellas, before you cast your votes, ask yourselves, what side of history do you want to be on? Now, I recognize that there are a lot of angry, disillusioned people out there, upset with the slow pace of change. And I get it. It is reasonable to be frustrated. We all know we have a lot more work to do in this country. But to anyone out there thinking about sitting out this election or voting for Donald Trump or a third-party candidate in protest because you're fed up, let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage.
And just to round it off, as I think we're getting towards the end now. Yeah, that one. Wow, 6 minutes left. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to speed it up, even though it's very interesting. No, actually, I'm gonna leave it as it is. I'm gonna leave it as it is. We've gotten this far. Just for my people of color, so you're entitled to your own point of view. But I read somewhere about a black member of the KKK back in yesteryear. Don't be today's member of the far right party, otherwise known as the Yellow Machine. You know what I mean? Well, you can do what you want, but you will be ridiculed. You will be ridiculed. And down history, your choices may well come back to bite you, because the far right extremists do not want to see us. You know, they're not like us, basically. Reference.
So, are you as men prepared to look into the eyes of the women and children you love and tell them that you supported this assault on our safety? And to the women listening, we have every right to demand that the men in our lives do better by us. We have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment. And we are more than just baby-making vessels. And if you are a woman who lives in a household of men that don't listen to you or value your opinion, just remember that your vote is a private matter. Regardless of the political views of your partner, you get to choose. You get to use your judgment and cast your vote for yourself and the women in your life. Remember, women, standing up for what is best for us can make the difference in this election. So let us use our voices in these final days to make it plain to the men in our lives that we need to stand not with Trump, but with us. We need them to vote for the only candidate in this race who will protect our lives. We need them to vote for Kamala Harris. She will fight to restore our reproductive freedoms and defend our health. Kamala will fight for our access to life-saving emergency care and maternal care in every state. Kamala will veto any abortion ban or bill that restricts access to contraception or IVF. Kamala will expand access to birth control and abortion pills. And she will do all of this not because she's a woman, but because she's a decent human being. She will do this because she cares about the lives of people other than herself. And that's really what this election is about, Michigan. This isn't just about what we have an obligation to say no to. It's about what we have the opportunity to say yes to. And we can elect someone who has the experience, the character, and the strength to look at all these challenges and still see a brighter day on the other side. Kamala Harris will see us, all of us, Kamala Harris will listen to us, all of us. She will protect our freedom. She'll stand up for all of our lives. She will have our backs for the folks trying to get ahead and those just trying to get by. And in doing so, she will usher in a new generation of American leadership and send the ugliness of Donald Trump and his politics back where it belongs, the past. But Michigan, she cannot do any of this alone. So I'm asking you one last time. Let us not just sit around and complain. Let's do something. If your brother or your son or boyfriend needs to hear your perspective, are you willing to talk to them? Are you willing to send a video of what I've just said? Are you willing to do something? If you have an aunt who's thinking about sitting this one out or voting for a third party, are you willing to have an uncomfortable conversation? Are you willing to do something? If you have an extra hour or extra weekend, are you willing to knock on doors and talk to your neighbors? Are you willing to do something? Look, Michigan, we've just got 10 more days to make it happen. 10 more days to wave goodbye to the incompetence and hatred and division. 10 more days to welcome in a leader with the character and the heart and the strength worthy of the office she seeks and worthy of the country that we all love. Michigan, let's give Kamala everything we've got. Can we get this done? Can we get this done, Michigan? We need you, every last one of you. Get this done. Get this done. And now, it is my pleasure to welcome to this stage the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
That was actually very interesting. It's very long, but it's very interesting. And so I said she did a deep dive on the women's reproductive rights and the implications. You know, if you're about to miscarry or things are going wrong, and then nobody can do an intervention, then you got to see that through then to its gritty end. You know what I mean? So, and I say that's not the only thing, but it's like beyond what you think is going to happen is these other things. So if there's no future in that line of the medical profession anymore, and then there's going to be less specialists and there's going to be less kind of professionals kind of serving people, serving women in that situation. So the standard of care is likely to go down, basically. So, you know, things are going to get real. So, and she went into the complexity of women's bodies and how much can go wrong, you know, the necessity really, but let's say the likely direction or possible direction if Trump continues to go down the route of restricting choice, basically. You know, food for thought. I'm going to take a break. It's nearly midnight. I've got a long day tomorrow. So it's a Thursday night in London, and yeah, I've got a working day tomorrow. No, it's a Tuesday. Got theatre tomorrow, so hopefully that goes well. Anyway, please like, subscribe, click on the notifications, just so that you don't miss any amazing content. That is Stephen. I am out.